we are talking using directory sites to fill your practice. I'm so excited for this. And first, just want to welcome you. Thank you for taking time out of your day, away from your clients, away from your family, or things you could be doing. Let's get the most out of this webinar today. So first, I highly suggest you put your phone on airplane mode, put it on silent. Don't try to multitask. Just pay attention and focus. And while you're focusing, take notes. It's really awesome to take some notes, to be able to capture all of that, and then take action afterwards. Make sure that you do something with the information that you get today. So if you don't know who I am Joe Sanok. I started Practice of the Practice. I have the Practice of the Practice podcast. I had a group private practice until 2019 when I sold that. And now I consult with people who are starting, growing, scaling, and exiting their private practices. I also have 2 daughters that are awesome. They're 8 and 11, and I love paddleboarding. Also, our podcast, Practice of the Practice, we do 4 episodes a week. So if you haven't caught that, the Practice of Practice podcast, it's the #1 podcast for counselors in private practice. We get 60 to 100,000 downloads a month, depending on the month. So a lot of people listening, a lot of great content, and we just explore topics that we think are important to the world of private practice. Also, Marta Hamilton is joining me today, and Marta is someone that I've worked with for a while. She came to Slow Down School. She's a wellness professional with a multidisciplinary background, including certifications as a licensed professional counselor, supervisor, yoga instructor, and holistic health practitioner and entrepreneur. Her latest venture is Telewellness Hub, who you've been hearing about in every single one of the Level Up webinars, because they graciously are giving away 100 premium memberships throughout this week. And so we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. But it's this amazing directory website that's designed for modern wellness experts to authentically and easily showcase who they are. It's really been amazing to just get to know Marta and kind of the product and directory she's starting. But today, we're going to be covering a lot of things. We're not just going to be covering directories. We're going to be looking at where you can get the most new clients for your money. We're going to discuss Google Ads, Facebook, directory sites. There's a lot to keep track of. And Marta's going to be discussing how we decide where to spend your ad dollars, what makes a great directory profile, and also how to use CTV ads to target your exact clients. I didn't even know what CTV ads were until I met Marta, and then she took me through it. I'm like, these are amazing. It is a little creepy how much data big advertising has on us, but we might as well use it to grow our practices. And so we are going to have this be highly conversational. I would suggest that you put it on speaker mode so that you can see both me and Marta when we're talking. But Marta, welcome to the Level Up Week webinar. So excited that you're here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really cool to join. I've been part of Practice of the Practice and launching my private practice, group practice, audience building academy, all of it. So it's really neat. Never imagined I'd be on this side of things, but I'm very excited to be here.
You have arrived.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we just start with what did your private practice look like? Because I think that really informs how we think about advertising, how we think about attracting our ideal client. But just share with us kind of your private practice when it was solo and then group, and just so that people have kind of an idea of your world.
Absolutely. I set up my private practice. I'm located out of Texas. And that is when I initially decided to very part-time set up private practice. So I think like so many, it was initially on the weekends, in the evenings, subletting someone's space. It eventually grew to being able to be my full-time job. And that's when I moved to Florida. So I had to reapply for licensure. At the time, I wasn't practicing telehealth, but really wished that I could and started looking a little bit into that. That was in 2015. I ended up moving back to Texas and at the time kept my Florida license active as well as my LPC here in Texas. Decided to just first do some contract work and start my private practice again. As a mom, I had twins. I really wanted the freedom. And in setting up my private practice, I knew I wanted to operate from a holistic model, just from my various experiences from medical hospitals, research, neuropsych testing, working at a naturopathic doctor's office. I had a lot of great opportunities in contract work and wanted to kind of bring them together in a way that aligned with my values. So ultimately had my private practice. people started asking me if I had telehealth options because of the busy schedules that people had. So incorporated telehealth. I got really busy, uh, decided to open up a group practice, and we offered a holistic model. So we had neuropsych testing, counseling, and an LPC supervisor as well. So had supervision, had a yoga instructor, and even the yoga instructor had a niche. So she liked working with couples specifically to facilitate communication, breath work for couples. And I guess that's ultimately I ended up closing the practice in 2020 to focus on this new venture. So still have my private practice, and yeah, that's kind of the evolution of things, if you will.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's helpful to just see that, you've lived having to grow a practice. And so it's one thing when there's someone that has a new
Yes,
new directory site or new IT thing, and it's like
right.
they're just an IT professional versus like you have done it. And so when you think about just advertising, what are maybe some of the different ways that people should think through the way that they spend their ad money? If they want to put money in, what are different ways they should think through that?
Well, I've learned from a lot of mistakes and a lot of just truly knowing nothing. It was a foreign language to me, right? SEO, backlinks, domain authority. There are so many things that we don't learn about that is just completely foreign to us that can feel like a distraction from our clinical work, but the work we really enjoy. So I think one of the things that I first first of all, truly practice of the practice, like you mentioned, I've lived it, was very helpful in the sense that there was leadership and there's community. And I was active in the groups. I asked questions, and that really helped me. But I think when it comes to how you spend your money, I think there's a it helps to have a clear vision of what your niche is. I think that's a really great start because then you can search if you're looking for a more local presence. You still have to create an online presence, even locally. You can do the face to face networking, but there's something to be said about the modern client gets on their phone and they Google counseling near me, ADHD counseling, counseling for uncoupling, whatever it may be, people are searching for that. And a great way to really look at that is look at the trends in the area that you're looking at. Create a focus on, is your ideal client going to be on Facebook? Are they going to be on Google? Because Google ads, Facebook ads, and now other social media ads from Instagram, they exist. And it really looks at, you really have to take a look at first setting up your niche. What does your budget look like? And your return on investment, right? Because if you can receive one client and it costs you, I don't know, probably like an average of $6 a click, perhaps, you can start taking a look at what's effectively working. In the beginning, it is a lot of experimenting. And I think having some, I guess, faith and confidence, if you look at it from that perspective of you can start small and experiment and see what works best for you, really keep track of data, that is the best approach, especially when it is so foreign for so many of us.
Yeah, I think there's a fear oftentimes, and I would
Yeah.
love if people feel this fear, just say yes in the chat. It's always nice to know that I'm not the only one feeling fearful of something. Like if I jump into Google Ads, that when I first started, it was like I'm going to accidentally spend like thousands of dollars,
Yes.
and it's just like all these clicks, and it's not going to be the right people. It's not going to be the right settings. I'll click one thing wrong, and it's going to cost me all this money.
Mhm.
If anyone else has felt that or worried about that, just put yes in the chat. What would you say to that in regards to some of those boundaries that people should know about or should set, or just like so they don't accidentally do that? Oh my gosh. Thank you for affirming my fear that I felt early on. What are some of those boundaries or things that people can do to make sure that they don't accidentally spend thousands of dollars when they meant to only spend a few hundred?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been in that situation myself too, right? So there is a fear of what if there's so many clicks, or what if there's no limit? The nice thing is that most ways to spend money with the ads, they have a limit. Now, Side note, Tele-Wellness Hub, I made it like a very clear cut membership. So there, you know that there will never be spent more than a certain amount per month with certain levels. That was part of it, right? Because I've lived it. I want transparency. And when it comes to other ways to spend money, you can put limits. I would recommend putting on your calendar like a time to check in, literally block it off, just the way we would block off treatment planning, calling back people, faxing, coordinating treatment efforts. Coordinating your marketing efforts will probably have a designated space, allotment of 15 minutes. Just check in. What's going on with the spending? Did it say it's at its max? Do you want to just end it right now when it comes to those Google ads, Facebook ads? That would be the biggest thing to give you a sense of understanding and regular checkup, and also control over a situation that can feel overwhelming and fearful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.